thinking about standards, and that we've had standards for quite a while, and there's lots of different kinds of standards. So I just did a little word cloud of the ISTE standards, the Common Core standards, and the NCTE IRA standards. And it's really interesting to see what pops out. The difference in the IRA and NCTE standards and the Common Core, where IRA and NCTE put priority on students, where the Common Core puts it on text. I think that both of them together are important. I think that they are equally important. I like looking at problem-based learning, and I like that we look at what's not in the standards. What is in the standards is knowledge and content. But what isn't in the standard are things like control, collaboration, questioning, and student choice to me is a big part of that first issue, the control. The fact that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. That means we can't have our kids all reading the same books, because in 10,000 hours, they aren't going to read the same number of books and the same quality of books. So right away, we know we need to have differentiation and some measure of choice. I learned wonderful things from Terry Lassane in her book on reading ladders, but it was more about the teacher. Here's the next book to give them. I learned just now from Peggy Kittle about student-created learning ladders, where they take their reading and they rate it according to complexity so we can see their growth. How many of you have to put questions up on the board? You look at those two questions. Are they equal, the sound of the long and short vowels and the meanings of our Constitution? Now that looks like it's an elementary classroom. What kind of answer is that first question going to get? The kids don't have enough background knowledge. So we have to have good questions. They have to be student-generated questions for a good part of the day, and I love Socratic circles for that. Kids generate their own questions, their own discussions, and they challenge each other. Another thing that's not in the core, but we aren't limited to what's in the core standards. Jeff Wilhelm said we need to look at what's not in the core, because it's not that we're forbidden to do it. We don't need to ask permission to do things like collaborative writing. And Google Docs is wonderful. This is a novel in a day in the novel month contest, or not contest, but the celebration. And from that, I got an idea to have my students each write the lost voyages of Ulysses, because we're studying the adventures of Ulysses, but to do it with a partner in a class not our own. So it will be asynchronous collaborative writing. Now, we are often faced with these kind of formulas, and we use it for informative, for persuasive, for comparison. It's the 5-paragraph essay. I love this one. Thesis, boys are gross. Reason 1, they like to fight. Evidence, Bob hits Kay a lot. Evidence, Mark attacks Joe. Okay, wouldn't that be better as a student-written voice? In maybe a narrative, maybe a combination. This blog post is wonderful about blogging as the new persuasive essay. Her thesis does not come until the middle of the essay, and she points that out. Now you see I've come to my thesis. Instead, we teach students thesis, warrants, claims, all of that kind of stuff, and argue over do transitions come at the beginning of a paragraph or the end. Why don't we have students writing things like this? This is writing, and it's becoming increasingly popular to see it in a visual way. There are tools available, free tools, where kids can make infographics that look very professional. These days, kids expect things to look good, but we also have to teach them that they have to mean something. Looking good is not enough. I love the idea of the children's flip book, and we need to do that in our thinking about the Common Core. We don't need to have an argument that's an academic essay directed at the teacher. It could be a letter to the editor that's directed to the community. It could also be a blog post that's out to themselves and to the world. It could be a public service announcement that's a movie and that's posted on YouTube. It does not have to be, and the Common Core does not dictate that it has to be an academic essay directed toward the teacher. These are beautiful examples of argument based on evidence, based on information. They're from Ryan Neal's class. I believe these were sophomores, and they were shocked to find out there's more slaves in the world today than there was during slavery in the United States. They staged a fly-in on the Boston Commons, and they really cared. There's a typo on that airplane that they didn't discover until the end. They redid all of them. Now, when they care about their product because it's public, they're going to do better work. There is so much opportunity for remix and publishing in the world, and this is a project, a self-sponsored project a kid did outside of school, and it's got about 6 different things going on there. Standards in teaching are about making connections. This is the internet in 2009, all the connections. They're messy, it's connective, it's brilliant, and it's unpredictable. And to me, that's a lot of what learning is, and it can be that way under the Common Core if we choose to make it that way, because it's all about learning. And I love this pinwheel of the new bloom. Is learning the end, or is it the beginning? It's actually both.